because I was waiting in there. Yep. Hey, welcome everybody. Apologies for the tiny little delay, just tiny, just a little bit. Yeah, welcome. Yeah, we thought we were actually streaming. We were actually just. I was like, what? What's going on? What's going on? Welcome everyone to the Snowflake Show. I'm your co-host Reganelite. Yes, you are Lee Corne. Took a while. Oh, don't you got bad at it. I need to get my hair cut. Never mind. And over the hour, we'll give you some of the latest news that's been developing, as well as some funny bone stories and some nice warm-hearted stories as well. So hope you enjoyed the show. Hey, it's another quiet week. What's going on, mate? you know, nothing's happening. No, nothing's happening. Mm, just scraping the barrel, literally, aren't we, on politics, aren't we? You know, yeah. I mean, there's plenty of funny and good-hearted stories, but nothing's happening. I mean, it's not like the Queen died, or we have a new prime minister, or the pound crashed, and a mini budget for the rich. Nothing. Yeah, it's just been one of those days. Just mhm. Yeah. Shall we say hello to the chat? Who have we got in today? So we've got Gingers. How you doing, Gingers? Ben Shaw, welcome along. Context there. Always providing some context there in the chat. Lefty Boater, thanks for coming along. Mad Monk and Kendra, thank you guys all for watching along. Much appreciated, of course. So obviously, in reality, there has been things going on. So we've had a mini budget, Lee. What a mini budget for the not so much for us and for those who kind of need some money right now. For those who are really struggling at the top, shall we say, and really need that tax cuts, of course, because that's obviously very, very important. Mm. Yeah, it's not been a. All right, give him a second. You're trying to get the article, are you? Yeah. Yeah, let's have a quick look. Yep, go on in.
People need to know that help is coming, and help is indeed coming. We're taking 3 steps to support families and businesses with the cost of energy. Firstly, to help households, the energy price guarantee will limit the unit price that consumers pay for electricity and gas. This means that for the next 2 years, the typical annual household bill will be £2,500. For a typical household, that is a saving of at least £1,000 a year based on current prices. We are continuing our existing plans to give all households £400 off bills this winter. So taken together, Mr. Speaker, we are cutting everyone's energy bills by an expected £1,400 this year, and millions of the most vulnerable households will receive additional payments, taking their total savings this year to £2,200.
Nope, you're not. I, I can hear you. No. Yes. Yeah, it's not like, don't get me wrong, like let's before we really get the negatives, let's look at one positive thing. They are doing something, which is a better opposed to not doing anything. So let's put that at least into perspective. You know, the bills could have been far higher and far worse for some people. Obviously, we're not taking away the fact that people are struggling to pay their bills, even with the bills that they're on right now. We're not taking that away whatsoever. But just in terms of for the, let's say, middle incomes who are doing all right, but obviously they don't want to be paying more for their energy costs. This will allow them at least to have some respite over the winter, shall we say, as opposed to shall we say, those a bit more, not as much less off. So that's pretty much I would say that's the only main positive really from that in terms of this mini budget. I mean, it's still like it's still, people still got to pay more for their energy costs, and if you don't have insulation, it's really harsh, really. I mean, if you've got an insulated home, you'll be pretty well. But if you've not got an insulated home, you're still going to struggle even with this. So that's the only positive. But it doesn't mean people are still going to struggle. People's bills are still going to rise. And the obvious solution, as we all know, would have been a windfall tax. You know, everyone knows that's the obvious, the simplest solution, so that we don't have to end up with more borrowing. Yeah. 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 That don't make sense at all, does it? I mean, like, what? Why are we borrowing? We're already in a big enough debt. Like, we shouldn't have to borrow. Like, it's not going to kill the energy companies, just taxing them a little bit. But for whatever reason, they are just tone deaf when it comes to dealing with dealing with it. Apparently, Lee has no sounds. So chat, if let us know if you can hear, when you can hear Lee. He's just gonna have a look at his mic. So while he's trying to fix that, I'm just gonna ramble on a little bit. So obviously, we can play the next bit of the video just while Lee gives a gift.
Our aim over the medium term is to reach a trend rate of growth of 2.5%. And our plan, Mr. Speaker, is to expand the supply side of the economy through tax incentives and reform. That is how we will deliver higher wages, greater opportunities, and crucially, Mr. Speaker, fund public services now and into the future. We need global banks to create jobs here, invest here, and pay taxes here in London, not in Paris, not in Frankfurt, and not in New York. All the bonus cap did was to push up the basic salaries of bankers or drive activity outside Europe. It never capped total remuneration. So let's not sit here and pretend otherwise. It didn't cap total remuneration. So as a consequence of this, Mr. Speaker, we are going to get rid of it. I can confirm to the House that we're in...
Sorry, I think my mic's working now, if anybody can tell me.
Yeah.
It looks like it. So bankers cap. That's something that everybody was calling for, because it's obviously going to boost investment. I mean, sorry if I just play the next bit, because he does actually explain his reasoning behind that. So
early discussions with nearly 40 places.
Okay. We'll listen to that bit and then we'll give our thoughts on it.
Norfolk and the west of England.
Oh no, sorry, actually no, he wasn't. He was talking about. Sorry, he's talking about what do you call it? The investment zones.
Oh, okay. We don't need to.
So his
talk about
argument,
that.
his argument for bankers caps is that it brings people in who are going to pay tax. So bankers are going to come into the country, and then they're more likely to come and work in this country. I mean, if the fact that a lot of banks are avoiding tax anyway, so you're going to get more money off the banks rather than the bankers working there than you would, So it doesn't really make any sense, that one.
So I think trying to, we're not economists, we're not financial experts, so we're like the idea, obviously, is trickle down economics, really, isn't it? That's basically the term I think. And the idea is lifting the cap on banker bonuses. It will bring more bankers and more investment into the country, sort of thing. And that make the part where obviously everybody I think got triggered is when they say they're going to pay taxes. And I'm not buying that for 1 second, considering what's been happening in the last 12 years of the Conservative government. I mean, it sounds like investment, but it's like right now it's not investment the country. I mean, yes, investment is what country needs. That's not the priority right now. The priority is getting us out of this cost of living crisis. And I believe the best way to do that is to put it in the hands of put money into the hands of ordinary people. That's what my general consensus of belief is. And to be honest, we can't, like, bankers, they have enough money as it is. What does removing the cap really going to do for them? Is it really going to help ordinary people? Is it really going to help the poor? Is it going to help the homeless on the street? Of course it's not. Everybody knows this. So why are we doing this? It's clearly there is a stench of corruption behind this. There's absolutely no question about this. It's just pointlessly. I don't know what more to really add to it. And it just stinks of corruption.
Well, I think the thing is, so if you base on trickle-down economy, I saw something the other day. Somebody said that if money did trickle down in that fact, it'd take 5 years for the money to come back into the economy to reach the bottom. So, and that, how much of that would actually reach the bottom is going to be minimal. But we can't wait 5 years. We haven't got 5 years to wait for it. So
no.
They need it now.
I'll just give another quick analogy in terms of trickle-down economics. So basically, another way of putting it is like, imagine you're giving a beggar money, right? But instead of giving that beggar the money, you're going to give it to a rich man. You're going to put it in a rich man's hand, right? And then you turn around and you tell the beggar, in a couple of years' time, you're going to get that money back.
Yeah. I saw a tweet on it. Someone said, I saw a beggar in the street or a homeless person in the street. And so I went and found the biggest, poshest house in the area, put a tenner through the letterbox, and in a couple of years it'll trickle down to the homeless guy who'll get a nice hot meal. That's kind of.
It's never trickle-down economics has never worked.
No.
It's never been proven to have worked. If it ever gets proven to be work, please show me an article, not from propaganda. Show me something that shows it. Good luck finding me. If you find something, great, show me, and maybe we'll actually discuss it. But until it's been factually proven, it doesn't work. They tried it. I think they tried it in America. Was it Reagan?
Reagan, your namesake.
Tried it. Yeah, he tried it.
Yeah, Reaganomics didn't work.
Yeah.
It just emphasizes it perpetuates the the gap between, it extends the gap between rich and poor. All the highest earners and the lowest earners. You know what we didn't do just before we do anything else? We didn't do this. The news.
Yes, it is news.
And I always forget to switch it before it goes black the screen as well. So, but anyway. So you want to listen to the rest of him?
These damn slideshows.
I know.
Yeah, let's listen. We'll listen to the rest of it, and then we'll move on to the pound tanking.
Right, here we go.
That we're in early discussions with nearly 40 places like Tees Valley, the West Midlands, Norfolk, and the west of England to establish investment zones. And we'll work with the developed administrations and local partners to make sure that Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland will also benefit if they are willing to do so. Corporation tax rate will not rise to 25%. It will remain at 19%, and we will have the lowest rate of corporation tax in the G20. This will plough almost £19 billion a year back into the economy. That's £19 billion for businesses to reinvest, create jobs, raise wages, or pay the dividends that support our pensions. The increase in employer national insurance contributions and dividends tax will be cancelled. And the interim increase in the national insurance rate brought in for this tax year will also be cancelled. Today's statement is about growth. Home ownership is the most common route for people to own an asset, giving them a stake in the success of our economy and society. So to support growth, increase confidence and help families aspiring to own their own home, I can announce that we are cutting stamp duty. High tax...
Yeah, that's worked well, hasn't it? Stamp duty cut. I mean, we can go to the next part.
Tax. Yeah. Let's,
go on. You're saying about corporation tax. Go on.
Well, I was just going to say, they're not even increasing the corporation tax. I mean, it's like... more money for the wealthy.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Let's move on, guys.
We're not going to finish. We're not going to watch the rest of it. There's another minute left of it. You sure?
I don't think we would need to hear any more of Kwasi Kwarteng and his kamikaze mini budget.
Right.
I think that's a good way to describe this budget as a bit of a kamikaze, I think.
Yeah.
But we'll move on to the pound.
Yeah.
And the pound has tanked.
So you watch this little explainer from this is from Ed Conway and Sky News.
Yes, so this will help give people better understanding. So let's have a little listen to understand the pound.
Oh, hang on, I forward wound it.
There we go.
Oh, to the beginning.
Well, it has been a real roller coaster day. Another one as people are reacting to this mini budget, whatever you want to call it. Let's have a look at what happened, starting with, of course, the pound. This is the pound against the US dollar. The higher this line is, the stronger this pound is. And we're just going back to Thursday. Last Thursday, there's Friday, there's the budget speech. The pound was about $1.12 at that point, but have a look at what happened next. Down, down, down to the end of play on Friday. And look at what happened in trading today. And early trading even further down, and then started to regroup. We had a story on Sky News saying there was going to be a Bank of England statement. There was a Bank of England statement, but it might not have been as much as markets were expecting because the pound fell again after the statement. But let's just focus on this. The moment the pound reached the lowest level against the dollar, well, ever. If you look back, this is just the last few days. Let's look back even further over the past century and a bit, all the way back to 1870. And you get a sense of what we're talking about. It's a real story of decline. So the gold standard era there, you can see the pound up at about $5, coming down over many different devaluations. World War I there. You can see the moment the UK left the gold standard in 1931 there. You can see various devaluations from the Dalton devaluation in 1949. You've got the moment the UK left, the UK was bailed out by the IMF. And all the while, the pound getting weaker and weaker and weaker through to 1985, the Plaza Accord, the last time the pound was as weak as it is today. And then through to 1992, Black Wednesday, ERM exit, the EU referendum. And there we are. Today, look, that line down there, the weakest it has ever been. But it's not just sterling, people have...
Yeah, so, sorry, just before, because he was talking about going on something else. So, yeah, it's unbelievable how badly, I mean, like I say, nearly parity. I think it dropped to 103, $103
It actually at one point did go below the dollar.
Did it?
At one point, it actually did. At one point, it was very, 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 very briefly, but it did.
Yeah.
According to one source, but I obviously this is on Twitter, so some of them I don't know how accurate some of it is, but I did hear that it did go below the dollar at one point. Now, obviously, that's this mini budget has not helped anyone. It's not even like may sound bizarre, but this has not even helped the millionaires and billionaires in the UK. Like
unless you're hedged against the pound because you knew it was coming, which does seem to have happened quite a bit.
Unless you're one of them who happened to be in the room and were told by Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng, hey, this is what we're going to deliver at the budget. You know, so obviously we don't know that for certain. It's all speculation anyway, but it's perfectly plausible to make that claim. it's a very real concern, and that the fact that the Bank of England had to step in and deliver something, there was a risk that pensions could have collapsed as well. I don't know if you saw that. I saw that in one of the articles,
because we're going to get to the Bank of England.
Frightening,
which
is absolutely frightening. We'll get to a bit more.
It's basically spooked the markets, hasn't it? The government, the markets have gone. We don't trust this government to be able to, the amount of borrowing they're going to have to do to pay for this. I mean, just logically, doesn't make any sense. If you cut taxes, but then you say you're going to spend more to cover the cost of the fuel increases, then where's that money going to come from? We mentioned it last week, but it doesn't make any sense. So Ed Conway then goes on to talk about interest rates. So let's just start and bonds and things like that. So let's have a look at that.
They've been focusing on is also mortgage rates. What's going to happen to what the Bank of England does with interest rates? One way of looking at that is looking into the future. So the last chart was deep history. This is the future, looking at what the expectations are for interest rates in the next few years. And just earlier on, in February, people thought it was only going to peak at 1.5% next year. Then we had, obviously, what happened in Ukraine, 2.75%, so they're raising their expectations for interest rates next year. Then when the new government, Liz Truss's government, came in, 4.75%. You see this line getting higher and higher, and as it gets higher, our mortgage costs are creeping up as well. And then finally, that's where we are today. Just look at how much those expectations for interest rates have increased. And of course, as that goes up, mortgage lenders taking their decisions, withdrawing some deals, putting up the cost of others, meaning this will affect households pretty much immediately.
Yeah, so he was saying there about the banks, mortgage lenders will be moving different products. So different mortgages now, you're not able to get them until you figure out what's going to happen, because they're costing these based on the interest rates and predictions. But at the moment, they can't predict anything because it's going so badly.
Yeah, it's incredibly dangerous what they're doing. What they're doing is they're gambling with the British economy. They're gambling with people's lives, people's finances, people's life savings, people's pensions, all for a tax break for the rich and the billionaires. And it's just damn right outrageous. There's a lot of, I could use a ruder words, but I'm not going to. I mean, you had the IMF call them out, you had Washington call them out. You know, when you've got like international, the IMF, calling this out, when you've got Washington raising concerns, you know, other international
organizations, markets.
Thank you. Yeah, when they're all calling you out, like, you know, if that's not a flash warning, what is not, you know?
Yeah. Let's just have a look at this, because this is interesting. This is respected economics professor Danny Blanchflower on Sky News.
Let's hear from an expert.
I mean, the reality is these are uncosted estimates, and they just don't look credible. So the question is, if you're the Chancellor of the Exchequer, and what you've done is you've stood up and you've crashed the markets, you crashed the bond market, you crashed the foreign exchange market, the stock market's dropped, the housing market's in trouble, and you created a giant recession because the Bank of England has to raise rates. Your credibility is completely trashed. Yeah. And what's the Prime Minister going to say? Well, at the moment, she appears to be hiding. But the questions that journalists like you and Ian King and everybody else and Ed Conway and others are going to ask is, so what are you going to do? It's all completely failed, hasn't it? They told you it was going to fail, and it has. Now what are you going to do? And obviously the question then is, politically, does she survive the month? Does she actually get to, and does he get to, this statement in 2 months' time? Because presumably, politically, they've created a disaster, and there's even an issue. Could you actually get this through the House of Commons? Unclear. I have never seen anything like this. I've been an economist for 50 years. I went through the Great Recession. I have never seen such raging incompetence ever.
Okay.
Raging incompetence. Never seen such raging. I've been an effing economist for however many years. I've never seen such raging incompetence. Yeah. We'll just go up to the chat,
guys.
Yeah, let's go up to the chat because we haven't. So. Kendra Thompson says,
a lot of comments.
Yeah, I can't imagine being as unpopular as Kwasi Kwarteng is right now. only getting. Oh, right, sorry. That was our microphone went out. Sorry about that.
Say,
Mad Monk says.
We've got Dog says.
Go on.
I was going to say, We've got Dog says the key word is trickle. That is the word, trickle.
Yeah. Mad Monk says, when I watched his mini budget, I was thinking he looks like he's on coke. And Shaw said, my council have been leaking 8 years. My council have been leaking 8 years. Sued the council twice. They've paid out twice, and they still can't afford to fix it. So because of that, they keep paying out tenants as it's cheaper to pay them out than fix it. That's ridiculous.
Jesus, that's
what council is that, Ben?
Sorry.
Just
I'm sorry to hear that, Ben.
Yeah, what councillors like to know? Some examples of money being wasted by corrupt entities and individuals. Kendra says Liz looks like she has no idea what he's talking about. Probably got 100%. Some interesting rumours about Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng, but they are only rumours.
Kendra also said works well for people who want second homes.
Yeah, that was the stamp duty. Was it removing the stamp duty? Was it, or reducing it, or increasing the limit? Yeah. The thing is, most people now you can't get a mortgage, so because the interest, if you do, the interest rate's going to be so high unless you get a fixed rate at a lower rate than what it is now. You're going to be a bit stuffed. Lefty Voter says, Ben Shaw, where I lived, they technically privatised the council into a non-profit. So yeah, a lot of them did. Everything got worse. I rang every day for 2 years due to leaky glass windows, and now it was done. I think my council, Stockport, have actually got a private. They got their own housing association, but it's owned by the council. So I think it's pretty well run compared to some others. What would happen if the pound? We're just about to say that. What would happen if the pound went below the dollar? Says Kendra. Well, the thing is, if the pound drops against the dollar, then everything becomes more expensive. So even if the gas prices are going up, we're also having to pay more because the exchange rate is
we all pay more. We all pay more if the pound drops, and that's what's going to happen. Price of everything that we pay for, because things are exported, and for people who get stuff from the UK, it's gold for them because they get, it's actually a gold mine now for foreign investment and all that kind of stuff.
And tourism and all that sort of thing. It might have a bit of an impact on that, but but investment, companies being bought up left, right, and centre by overseas investors now at the moment. Ben shows it's not speculation, it's fact. Just get Ginger's Giraffe. I always said I would like to go back to 1980s start over, but this is ridiculous. Yeah, I was just thinking, I don't think this was... I've never seen something go so badly so quickly. Maybe the last time I saw it go, the economy go like this was... Not even the bankers' crisis, I don't think it went this bad so quickly. I think it was the ERM, where the ERM collapsed... the exchange rate, the pound collapsed against the ERM, against the other European currencies, and he ended up chucking loads of money at it. And that guy, that investor, everybody claims he's being funding all the left wingers, all the right wingers claiming he made a fortune off it. Yeah, Truss and Kwarteng gave the nod to their mates before, maybe. Yeah. Kendra says this is why I never bothered getting a private pension. Yeah. Ben says Sheffield Council, is it a Labour run or is it Conservative or Liberal?
Probably is a Labour run.
I would have thought so, but it might not be.
Yeah,
it depends which parts. Also, Kendra says I meant more to reputations of the pound in the UK. If it drops below, it's terrible. Yeah, they reckon that somebody said it was a submerging economy now, the British economy submerging.
Yeah. Shall we just go to the Labour conference, or do you want to
just a quick one, because what's happened today? The Bank of England have they've pumped in £65 billion to avert the financial crisis. So
do you want me to read a little bit of it?
Yeah, have you got that one up?
I do. So
okay.
I'll just quickly read a quick bit for you guys in the chat. So the Bank of England has been forced into emergency actions to halt a run on Britain's pension funds after the impact of Kwasi Kwarteng's ill-received mini-budget prompted fears of a 2008-style financial crisis. Fred Needle-Street said the fallout from a dramatic rise in government borrowing costs since the Chancellor's statement had left it with no choice but to intervene to protect the UK's financial system. City sources said the surprise move, less than a week after Kwarteng's underfunded tax giveaway, was needed to halt a doom loop in the bond market that risked draining pension funds of cash and leaving them at risk of insolvency. Yeah, I mean, the very fact that people's pensions could go into insolvency, like this is something that, Lee, this is something that should, the very fall that the UK or England in particular, the very fact that we're even talking about the very possibility that people could lose their pensions is absolutely insane. I mean, this is something you would never think of a few years ago, let alone 12 years ago. I mean, it's just crazy to think that people could lose their pensions because of how uncallous that they are, and there's no surprise that there is a lot of Tory MPs who are there are a lot of Tory MPs, even senior ones, that are absolutely furious. They're not coming out and saying it yet, some of them, but there are a lot of Tory MPs who are really unhappy with this mini budget. That is for sure.
There's well, it's got to get through Parliament yet, so there could be a mutiny there. And apparently there has been at least one MP put in a letter to 1922 committee already. So we'll see how that all pans out. And they've also got the conference coming up in the next couple of weeks. Although I was hearing today that a lot of the MPs aren't even planning to go to the conference because they just can't face it. So
well, they won't be able to get there anyway because of the train strike.
All right, so off the back of all these shenanigans from the mini budget, Labour took the lead in the poll, the biggest lead for 21 years in a YouGov poll.
Wow.
It's saying they could win a 182 seat majority, with some very prominent Tories potentially losing the seats, such as Boris Johnson. Jacob Rees-Mogg, I believe, was one as well. I mean, this was before the late party conference, so we'll get onto that in a bit, where it went particularly well, it seemed to anyway. Everybody had been bigging up everything over from that, so I can only imagine that poll lead is going to get bigger, especially as things get worse. If the economy gets worse and there's no U-turn, no sign of us getting out of it.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say though, we should always take polls with a pinch of salt.
Yeah.
Obviously, they all said Hillary Clinton would win, and we all knew what happened there. So let's not jinx it. But
I know we're still we're at least 18 months out from an election, and also I remember Neil Kinnock at the conference before an election, right before an election, and saying everybody thought they were going to win it, and John Major. Boring old John Major actually won it. And it was like, how the hell did that happen? But I think you have to be a bit careful about being too victorious before you actually won it, Boris Johnson, Jacob Rees-Mogg, Ian Duncan Smith, Penny Mordaunt, Steve Baker, Brexit hardman Steve Baker, Grant Shapps.
Oh no, he won't be so hard anymore.
Grant Shapps, Angela Leadsom, Andrew Jenkins and Dominic Raab. Oh man.
Oh dear.
I'd have to do? I'd have to get out the world's smallest violin to play him a tune.
Let's hope that lead holds. Obviously, there's a long way to go, but it's if that is the mood of the public right now, the vast majority of the public is in England. We'll say England and Wales. We'll say Scotland a bit different, obviously, but. Pretty much people are fed up of what's happening in the country right now. Yeah,
I love that. Shadow Health Secretary Wes Streeting mocked Chancellor Kwasi Kwarteng as he called Friday's statement a kamikaze budget. Puntastic. Puntastic.
Oh, dear.
You described Liz Truss as a deep state liberal Democrat.
Trustonomics is a new one. Trustonomics is what this is as well.
Oh, brilliant! Right,
as well.
So, I was actually that was one I was actually going to talk about. But is there anything else you wanted to say about that potential? I mean, they've got one here.
I think we'll leave that there.
Four MPs left in. 4 MPs left in London. Yeah. So anyway, right, okay. So yeah, because it's already 39. I mean, we start a few minutes late, but the Labour conference.
Run a little bit over if we want to, but we'll see.
Okay, the Labour Party conference in Liverpool this week. So Keir Starmer gets the ball over the line without breaking into a sweat. I mean, it was, if he didn't have a good speech at the party conference this week, I think it would have been a massive own goal. But you know, they basically teed him up and sort of stood to one side of the goal and went, there you go. Tories look like death cult muppets. All the Labour leader needs to do with his big speech was not sound like a complete half-wit. And did you listen to his speech?
I didn't watch the full speech, but I did watch some of the highlights. There was some really heartwarming bits in some of the speech that I really loved from him. I will say that. Some really... I don't know if you've got any clips you wanted to play.
I couldn't find any clips of just the highlights.
That's all right. There was I'll just highlight one of the touching ones was when he talked about a constituent in Grimsby, and that constituent basically told Keir Starmer, I don't just want to survive. I want to thrive. Something along those lines.
I want to live. I think he said, I want to live.
That's it. I want to live. That's right. Thank you. Yeah. And basically that kind of resonated with Keir Starmer when he was on his way back from Grimsby. But it's not just the fact that it was said to him. It was the fact that it resonated with him and how he resonated that in that conference and showed and how he turned out to say, we're going to help this person. We're going to help everybody because that's what we're going to do. I think that was I think that out of all the, obviously I haven't seen the full speech, but I've seen some of the highlights. But I thought that for me was the most powerful bits because you want to recognise that you care and you care about ordinary people, and when you connect it with ordinary people like that, you're out there on the street listening to people. That's the best way. Yeah, you can win voters over.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think he was very good. I mean, he made a point of the fact that he wasn't from a privileged background, that his parents did struggle. There were times where, they didn't have any money, and which is a good comparison against what you look at as a Tory party at the moment, especially particularly the Tory cabinet and the prominent Tories. There's like 17 out of the cabinet went to Eton and things like that. It's some ridiculous number.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah, but it also just emphasises the fact that really, people they talk about the working class, but really, unless you don't have to work because you've got so much money that you literally don't have to work. We're all working class. We're all working people. So whether you're middle class or whether you live in a nice posh house and you've got nice posh car on the drive, or whether you're living in a council house and you're earning minimum wage or you're on benefits, topping up your wages or whatever, we're all in the same boat. And what's happened is that I think it's a combination of the stagnating wages over the last sort of 10 years since austerity came in, reduction in services, and things like the NHS, the way that's just been handled. Brexit has had a massive impact, and then this has really kind of been, I think, this cost of living crisis and the fuel prices, the energy prices, has just it's seen people move from being comfortable and comfortably maybe middle class or upper working class, whatever you want to put it on, but to suddenly being dragged into the point where they're like, how are we going to afford to pay the bills every month? And so everybody's now in that boat. There's so many more higher percentage of populations that are in that boat. But it's great because one of the things that's happened is that people now look at all these things that for years the Tories have gone, oh, privatisation is brilliant and it's worked really well. And you look at, we've lost your picture.
Oh, God, not again.
But
Exactly.
you're back.
Anyway, carry on.
But but things like they didn't mention water, but the rail service and renationalising that, and it's so popular. 72%. It's something like he was saying 69% of Tory voters were in favour of doing it. So you know, just things like that, and the I don't know if that was the rail or the national energy Great British Energy creating an energy a company that actually where you invest in money in to build all the green energy, so things like solar and wind and wave and hydro, and then you're creating jobs in the economy, but also you're putting it into a publicly owned company, which then can control the costs of it, and the money profit is made isn't going out to other countries, because he said like half the offshore wind farms, I think it was, in this country are owned by foreign governments.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's you know, which is hence the announcement of Great British Energy. Obviously, very patriotic name to put on it. But, but the philosophy for it, I mean, it's just like, you know, the philosophy, the idea is completely like, hey, we're going to provide green energy. They want to do more fracking, more oil, and more this. You know, the logic is there in there. So environmentalists and that, they know who they're going to vote for at the next general election. So they've made that very clear.
And if you've if you own let's say you're a Tory voter and you live out in Lancashire or Somerset or all these Yorkshire, different places where they now got licenses to frack, you literally, even if you're a Tory voter, you're going, well, I don't want that. So that's kind of, they're shooting themselves in the foot with that, because some of these are Tory heartlands out in the countryside, and also I think it also, when you say about like this kind of nationalistic, but that taps into that sort of, you know, I won't say jingoistic, but you know, I don't think there's anything wrong in loving your country. There's nothing wrong in it.
No.
But the Tories have weaponised it to the point where, you know, if you don't love your country, you don't have a flag in the background, or you don't sing the national anthem at every opportunity, then
they spin it. Yeah, it's exactly what the German Nazis basically did.
But then to basically just, you know, just go, oh, we can still use the term Great Britain or British or whatever, and you can put the Union Jack on it or whatever, but it doesn't. It kind of, it shows that you can still utilize that without having negative impacts on it, on negative connotations. It's not necessarily nationalist to call something British. Do you know what I mean? It's just, it is what it is. They probably couldn't call it British Energy. There's probably already a company called that. So Great British Energy is probably an alternative. I didn't think about that. I thought, why didn't you just call? That's probably why.
Probably. But some positive stuff, obviously, from the Labour conference. The
cutting of business rates, the abolition of business rates is a really good one as well.
Yes,
that will have a massive impact to the high street.
Very, very good one. Obviously, guys, if you haven't seen, I mean, if you wanted to look it out there are some highlights on Keir Starmer's speech if you don't want to watch the full speech, and I don't blame you if you're not going to watch the full speech because it is an hour long. So an hour is a lot of time. But obviously, you can there are plenty of highlights online of like some of the best points and the best bits from it. If you guys want to check that out,
I've got Angela Rayner's speech lined up, like 4-minute highlights, because I haven't seen it from today.
Okay, we'll put that up in just a sec. Just wanted to say, good evening, Conservator. Thanks for joining us, and Daily Blase. Hope you guys, both of you, are well.
Guys.
And hello, Zona. Hope you're well as well. Thank you guys,
Pineapple's here as well,
for dropping by. And yes, Pineapple, thank you as well for dropping by. Appreciate it, guys. So yeah, let's just give Lee a moment.
Oh, sorry, I've got it ready. You ready to go?
Oh, you got it ready? Yeah.
Oh,
well, let's hear from the Angela Rayner, someone who knows what it's like to be an ordinary person.
I say that, but now I've lost it.
Oh dear.
It's there. Hang on, where's it gone? Bum. No. Oh no, what have I done with that?
I have heard some of her speech, which is really good. So hopefully Lee can get it working.
shall we just jump to the next one? And we can come back to that one.
Okay. Well, while we're, what's the
next one is it's two stories really that are both kind of linked to it.
Is that about the
Crispin Odie?
Oh,
and
it's just about the oh yeah. So it's just a little. Well, you know, obviously with all these crises going on, and obviously it's definitely the Conservatives' fault. So how do Conservative MPs, the hardcore ones, defend this undefensible mini budget? Yeah, just blame everybody else. It's obviously the Remainers. It's obviously the Snowflakes, like myself and Lee. We're obviously responsible for crashing the pound.
It's obviously me. Yeah.
You know, YouTubers like Daily Blase. He's obviously responsible for crashing the pound. Clearly,
exactly.
Yeah, because we're all being blamed. Yeah, the filthy Ramonas are the one responsible for it, or as one person says, Tory peer has said, it's apparently Keir Starmer's fault. The very fear that Keir Starmer could become Prime Minister has literally crashed the pound.
Yeah, no, it definitely wasn't anything Kwasi Kwarteng said on Friday.
Yeah, nothing to do. Even though it dropped as he was talking, it had absolutely nothing to do with that. It was because they feared Keir Starmer might become Prime Minister. This is these two headlines. I just wanted to show just how ridiculous they are. I think another way, if you guys wanted to, I was just going to say, guys, if you wanted another way of seeing how daft it is, you could always listen. James O'Brien did a great montage of on LBC this morning, taking them to the cleaners on the defense of this indefensible defense of the mini budget. Which I've put on in our Discord server, which you guys can check out later as well. But
this one's Crispin Odie, and he says Remainers are to blame for the run of the pound. This is the guy who literally made a fortune of betting against the pound after Brexit or before Brexit, and made loads of money when the pound tanked straight after. And he also did the same on the pound this time. Before the budget, he hedged against it. For some reason on the picture, I've cut his head off. I don't know why.
Oh well, I guess he's headless now.
I don't know why subconsciously I cut his head off on him.
His head must have been stuck in Robespierre's guillotine. That's clearly what happened there.
Yeah,
clearly. But I think it's just hilarious the defences that are coming up. For these budgets. I mean, I think there was one other defence from another Tory MP. I don't remember his name, but he basically said, "Oh, the IMF don't know what they're doing. We should leave the IMF and stop funding them." And then James O'Brien says, "Well, why don't we leave the solar system? Because we can't trust anyone on this planet."
The sun, it's not consistent enough.
It's not.
One minute he's red hot, and 6 months later it's freezing cold. I mean, just not on, is it?
I hate to tell these Brexiteers, but unfortunately, we cannot physically move the whole of the United Kingdom away from Europe. I know they want us to. I know they want to put the money in and have thousands of ships push an entire country away from Europe. It's just not possible, guys. I'm really sorry. So.
I've got Angela Rayner's speech ready, so should we have a quick look at that then?
Yes, let's listen to Angela Rayner.
Tories deliver 1% of what they promise. They talk endlessly about that 1%, and we never hear about the list of broken promises. When we deliver 99% of what we promise, we talk endlessly about the 1% we didn't instead. We set a high bar, but just think about the historic Labour governments and their legacy. They didn't please all of our movement all of the time, including me, but those Labour governments made history. The NHS social security, the welfare state, council housing, modern higher education, the open university, decriminalising homosexuality, outlawing racial discrimination, introducing equal pay, the national minimum wage, Sure Start, devolution, the Good Friday Agreement, civil partnerships, Equal Pay Act, the Human Rights Act and the world's first Climate Change Act. And conference, if we're not proud of ourselves, don't expect anyone else to do it for us. The Conservative Party are no longer pretending to be competent and stable. Today's Tories will plunge us into chaos in pursuit of their dogma, divide the country to rule it. I mean, they said tough on crime. They brought crime to number 10. Defenders of the free market, the market's in free fall. England's green and pleasant land, frack it. To think this was the party that claimed they were for sound money. That's what one high-flying new Tory MP certainly thought back in 2012. He wrote a pamphlet demanding a balanced budget every year. He said, fiscal prudence is the very least we should expect from a Chancellor. And if they failed, they should face a 20% pay cut. I tell you what, that Tory MP must be absolutely furious with the new Chancellor, except he is the new Tory Chancellor. Now, I know they'd rather forget it, but we're now in 12 years into Tory government, even if we are on our 4th Prime Minister. And where are they now? David Cameron, the privatised Prime Minister sold to Greensill. What was his greatest achievement? Fooling the Lib Dems. Not exactly a high bar.
Ooh, harsh.
And then, of course, we had Theresa May. I remember her telling us that if you were a citizen of the world, you were a citizen of nowhere.
Oh.
If only we'd known about their green cards and tax loopholes. Their politicians becoming like their donors, residents of everywhere, taxpayers of nowhere. And then there's Boris Johnson. I do owe him one apology. I said he couldn't organise a booze up in a brewery. Turns out he could organise a booze up pretty much anywhere. Just a shame he couldn't organise anything else. I had to use all of my Boris lines now while he's still remembered and while everyone knows who he is. Before he becomes a footnote in the failure of the history books.
Using up all the Boris lines while he's still remembered.
Well, conference, at least that's what the new Prime Minister must be hoping for, because he'll be sat on the back benches, plotting his comeback with a glint in his eye, thinking, I wasn't so bad after all, was I? What a sorry state of affairs.
Oh, brilliant. That is brilliant. Oh.
So good.
Yeah. Went to the wrong one then. So, yeah. I mean, she's right. He's like, he'll be sat on the back bench, he's thinking, I was all right, me. Look, if you think I was bad, look at these guys, I was all right. And he will do, probably like in a few years' time, we'll be like, yeah, when Boris Johnson was in charge, he wasn't that bad, was he? He wasn't as bad as these lot.
She's so good. I just love how she just took them to the cleaners.
Yeah.
I didn't hear it in the clip there, but I think she also did the joke about pork markets as well.
Oh, I didn't hear it in the clip there.
No, it wasn't in that clip. It might have been a different. I don't know if it was this. It might have been a previous speech she did, but she joked about her ruining the pork markets, and then she goes, and that is a disgrace.
Yeah. Epic trolling.
Absolutely beautiful. I have looked. I should try and find that clip at some point and put it on Discord, because I think it'll be definitely worth listening to. Yeah, she ruined the pork markets. It's a disgrace, I tell you. Oh dear. Absolutely fabulous from Angela Rayner.
Yeah,
she's going to be very good in government. That's for sure.
Just going back to the chat quickly. The Daily Blase, so it's all Daily Blase's fault, according to from what you said. You blamed him.
Blase.
And he says, yes, it's all my fault because I wrote Kamikaze Kwarteng's budget speech last week.
Oh, it was you. I knew it. That's what you've been doing when you've not been live streaming or doing your videos.
Because Sousa says, how desperate must you be to blame Starmer for the pound dropping like a brick? Yeah. Let's get Regan. Oh, someone called Reganelite says, let's get on boats and start rowing then.
Yeah.
Oh dear, yeah. Right. Should we move on to the next one? Because we've been going for nearly an hour already.
Yeah, let's get some. Let's move away a little bit away from politics and look at some funny and good stories, because that's what a lot of people like to hear. Not just all politics, obviously.
This one's a really nice one. It was in the Guardian the other day.
It's a lovely story.
I just need to find it.
Do you want to read this, or do you want me to?
God,
I've got it here. If you want me to.
If you want to read, I'll let you read this one.
Well, I think you should read it.
I'll probably break into tears reading it, so I'll let you do it.
Oh, okay then. All right. If you insist. Okay, so the headline is "The People Making a Difference: The Man Setting Up Woodworking Sheds to Combat Loneliness." So Philip Jackson left the UK when he was 22 and returned when he was 67. During that time, he worked in construction in Thailand and Australia. When he retired and returned to his native country and in Barnsley, Jackson felt like a foreigner in his own country. I had a strong Australian accent, and everyone who knew I was younger had moved away or was dead. He was lonely, and he wasn't the only one. I'd never seen loneliness like this, said Jackson. There were so many lonely old men in particular. Looking for something to do, Jackson became a member of the English Heritage and travelled around the world, visiting castles. He applied for jobs, but no one wanted to hire a man in his 60s. He read about the suicide rate in Barnsley, which is higher than the national average, and was appalled, but not surprised. When I came back home, he said, I saw how industry had been decimated. The factories where I did my apprenticeship had closed down. Jackson, who is 78, remembered an initiative he heard about when he was abroad. The Australian Men's Shed Association is a collective of more than 1,000 sheds aimed at combating loneliness through communal woodworking. Jackson decided to set up one in Barnsley in 2014 with the help of a small national lottery grant. Jackson secured premises from Barnsley Council and the woodwork equipment from donations from the Barnsley Men's Shed. He then set up the She Shed, a community space for women. The shed's members, ranging from 22 to 87, and met once a week. The men on Tuesdays, the women's on Wednesdays. They're a diverse bunch, ex-coal miners, ex-shopkeepers, ex-homemakers. There's even a retired carpenter, which is handy. People apply to join the sheds, he says. We have interviews. We tell people to come down, have a cup of coffee and a chat. Look around the sheds. If they're happy with the environment and the people, they're more than welcome to continue. Shedders, as Jackson calls them, makes everything from ornaments, dog kennels, birds, plant boxes through the wheelbarrows. One guy made an operational windmill for his garden. That's pretty cool, to be fair.
Yeah.
And a lighthouse which flashing light on top of it. And I'm sure the neighbours love that one.
I love that.
That is very cool. But the shed is about much more than bird boxes or wheelbarrows. It's like a shed at the bottom of your garden, said Jackson, but all your friends are there. It's a break from your people's weekly routines. It gets them out and talking to similar people. That's the beauty of the sheds, he said. It's not really a woodworking shop. It's a community enterprise where people's problems can come and discuss with friends. People can talk about their marriage breakups, bereavements, grandchildren, and housing problems. At the moment, one shedder is having difficulty with some of the people he lives with. He sits and chats with us, says Jackson. And so we say, right, what can we do to solve this problem? During lockdown, Jackson called the shredders every week to check that they were doing okay. Many were struggling. He also set up live streams on Facebook so people could work together remotely from their home and feel more connected. It's a lot of responsibility, Jackson says, but I loved the shed. Sandra Pasta, a social enterprise dictator and active shedder who nominated Jackson for his column, tells me that although he recently had an operation to remove bladder and prostate cancer, he's still working very hard to keep the shed going by applying for funding and attending shed sessions. The shed has become a brotherhood and a sisterhood where many people can find solace and respite from the many anxieties that are impacting on their lives, she says.
Just to get to the point. So he decided that we were going to do. He actually he wanted a treat for his birthday, and he said he wanted to plan something romantic. And he wanted to ask Sandra, who's Sandra Potesta, who you're talking about there, to marry him, and so basically, they for the treat for the as part of this series in the Guardian, they have they basically take him out, allow him to like say even what do you want to do. They give him a treat as a reward for kind of like as a thank you for what they've done, and he proposed to Sandra Potesta, and she said yes. And he met through organising the lottery funding for him. So he's 78 years
fantastic.
old. Yeah,
that's lovely. What a lovely, lovely story. I mean, it's not just the fact that he found love, but it's just helping people. Just something as simple as that, and being able, I'm so glad that he was able to do that, to be able to get the funds, to get, everything he needed to be able to set it up, and taking an idea from abroad, from that they have in Australia that they do, and bringing it to the UK where suicidal rates are higher than the average in Barnsley. What a difference that man is making, not just for himself, but for a whole community out there. And absolutely nothing but love and respect for him. And hopefully, if I ever go to Barnsley, I'll definitely pop into the shed for a nice cup of tea and a chat with the folks there. That's for sure.
There's the local. I know my local football team, Stockport County. Some of the fans have organised just weekly meetings where just to get together and a chat. Just for this is slightly different, but on the similar thing is like it's for guys who maybe the suicide rate is it can be quite bad, and quite a few of the fans of the male fans in particular, young men. There has been an issue, and so they basically just organised it through Facebook, and these get-togethers once a week to discuss it. And I know there's a lot of other similar groups all over the country. I can't remember the name of it. I'll find out. I'll put a link in the comments if I can find what it is. But I'm sure there's lots of others. But yeah, just moving on to the next one then, because we're already going well over an hour now.
Yeah, we are over time. So we'll quickly just run this.
Do you want to do the police dog?
No, let's go.
The child. The child.
Yeah, we'll save the police dog one for next week.
Right,
we'll save that one for next week. Yeah, let's go to that one. So
this one.
This is a funny daft story, because we always want to give at least one funny daft story. I picked up the wrong child from nursery. Yeah, the police were called and people got fired. Yeah, so people lost their jobs over this. So I'll quickly run how the story went. So it's every parent's nightmare that their little ones end up being taken by a stranger. And for one mum, this was reality after a child was mistakenly picked up from nursery by someone unknown. A woman from the US, known only as Brianna, has taken the interest to share the very awkward situation she found herself in a few years ago to offer to help out some babysitting for an acquaintance. Britannia claims that she went to the daycare to pick up the child for her pal and ended up taking the wrong kid home.
Oh my god.
In a jaw-dropping TikTok post under her name, she recalled how she arrived at the nursery.
Funk. It's great.
Yeah,
name.
You can say that. She arrived at the nursery, explained that she was there to collect, but didn't know what the child looked like. As a result, the staff made a big mistake.
God, staff just let her take anybody. My God, that's
she
so
goes.
bad.
Goes to pick up an acquaintance kid from the daycare to help babysit until she can get off work. Give them my name and the kids. Goes to the room and matches the description. Gives the kid's name, picks up the kids, and leaves the door out and comes through. Drives 20 minutes to the house, starts preparing the snacks for the kids. Older siblings comes out of the room. Older kid says, "That's not my sibling."
Oh, I mean, it's scary as well, but it's funny though.
She continues to share how she checked her phone to find lots of messages from her friends informing her she picked up the wrong child, and there was a slow-mo terror following this moment. So Brianna quickly hopped back in the car with the little one to fix the mess, which claims involved being questioned by police, along with the way it resulted in staff being fired by the daycare.
My God.
Here's the thing. I just want to say just before I know you're desperate to talk about this, but here's my 2 cents. Right, my partner works in daycare. Okay, now the most obvious thing is that if somebody is there to pick up, they have very, very strict restrictions for people picking up children. If it's not parents or grandparents, they need to know who they are, what they look like, and sort of thing, so that when that person comes to pick them up, they know exactly who it is, so that they know that child is going into the right person's hands. This is a prime example of extremely bad members of staff who have not inadequately prepared yet for this in any way, shape, or form. And maybe them getting fired is a bit extreme, but at the same time, you're talking about a child's life. That could have been anybody picking up your child.
Go on.
And I'm sorry, but you cannot put children at risk at that level. And I'm sorry to say, they absolutely deserve to be fired for making such a horrible mistake.
Yeah, when I didn't really read the full story. When I read the headline and it started off, I mean, it's a mistake. You can say, it all got sorted out in the end. But like you say, they shouldn't. When you said they just let her take based on description, the kid didn't know who she was. The kid, he just went along with it, and it's like, you just start thinking about what could have happened and how bad that would have been. And I think, in a way, I would say she probably should have at least been severely reprimanded, but fired is probably maybe the right.
Take a photo. Take a photo of the person of the child, or take a photo of the person that's coming to collect. You're like, just 2 simple things like that, like a photo ID of, like you said, a picture of the phone to the daycare or whatever, so they know exactly who's coming to pick them up. Like, and then you get a picture of the child that they know they're getting picked up.
Yeah.
Very simple. Everybody knows who's what's what.
Yeah,
it's a very simple thing.
Ginger's Giraffe says in the US, if you aren't on the pickup list, you can't pick up a child. But this was in the US, so it shows how it failed in this case and where it went wrong.
It's obviously 1 or 2 states or of sorts are not following the rules.
Or just one, that particular daycare centre didn't. Really,
it could have been just that particular daycare centre, possibly. But
she's
David Cameron's Aunt Pear.
Oh God, yeah, that time when you left the child in the pub.
Oh yes, David Cameron left. Oh yeah, it's the same child that was left at that pub.
Oh God!
Nice.
Right, I know because I got my NASA T-shirt on especially for this. So NASA smashed an a spaceship, a spacecraft, I should say, into an asteroid, to see if it'd move. It actually alter the trajectory of the asteroid. It wasn't wasn't heading towards Earth or anything like that. But these are the photographs, and this guy's actually smoothed it out a bit. So there's like a bigger asteroid has just gone past there on the bottom left, and then this is like a little moon of the asteroid.
Okay.
And basically, it slammed into something like 17,000 miles per hour, and then got really close, and then literally went boom. And there's literally the point where it smashed into smithereens. Is that point with the picture it was trying to send back. So yeah,
they should have put a camera on the back of it then, or done something to kind of have it still on it so that it doesn't.
So this is from different observation stations on Earth. You can see where the plume there where it hits it, and then you can see all the bits of rubble and things coming off it. And there's a few different ones. So there's another one here.
I'm sure the Flat Earth Society have got rebuttals coming as we speak.
Yeah. So do you reckon it's going to take a few days before they know they have to measure? Because it takes about 12 hours to orbit the bigger satellite, the bigger asteroid. So the idea is that you find out if if it slows down the orbit. So he basically headed into it, smashed it head on, so that it should slow down the orbit of it. And the aim is to find out whether it's possible to divert the trajectory of an asteroid if there's an asteroid heading towards Earth. I suppose you'd probably have explosives on it if you're doing something like that as well. But this is literally just smashing this thing into the asteroid.
Well, what I will say, it's good that NASA are trying out these things in the event that something like that does occur. So it's good that these things are kind of being thought out and not just thought about. Hey, what if in the film Armageddon when the meteor hits, what do we do? It's very sensible stuff from NASA to be trying this stuff out.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think hopefully it does make a difference, and if the event of all going to die happens and they have a solution to it, joking aside, if they do have, this could help make a difference down that pathway. Hope so. Have to keep an eye on it, keep an eye on what as NASA are up to as always. So I'm still waiting for them to build a moon base or to plan that trip to Mars. But I don't know if we'll ever get those two things happening in my lifetime. I'm still patiently waiting for them to happen.
Yeah. Right. Shall we have a look at this? And this is a funny thing to finish the stream off.
Yes. We'll finish with a bit of Matt Green.
Minister, the reaction to your mini budget has been generally quite negative, hasn't it? Not true. I was talking to several economists earlier today who said our fiscal event was smashing, that I was looking very well, and have I been working out? The opinion polls have been pretty damning. That's because people don't know that we're going to create a high-wage economy by giving them pay rises? God, no. We want people to set up their own businesses, maybe build a local version of a hospital or a fire station or a police force. Because let's be clear, we have no money left to fund those. On my screen, I'm seeing that the pound is dropping in value as we speak. Well, that's fine. We're not interested in what the market's doing. Actually, looking at this graph, it looks like the pound may be rallying. Oh, thank God for that. We always knew the markets would come around eventually, and we are delighted to have their confidence. No, sorry, I was looking at the wrong way around. The pound is actually crashing again. It's all nonsense and we don't care. Why do you think the markets have reacted to your plans by selling the pound? Who says it's because of our plans? I mean, the Queen just died. Maybe looking at lots of pictures of her face made them sad. What? Or maybe they're worried that because of what the mainstream media are saying, there could be a Labour government next, and they're panicking in advance. Which is actually quite sensible. The pound has dropped even further. It's approaching parity with the dollar. Well, at least that'll make holidays to America less confusing. No need to check a currency calculator all the time. Because you know you won't be able to afford anything? Precisely.
Oh, good God.
Sources in the city have warned us that they're worried that you don't have a plan to balance the books. We absolutely do have a plan for balancing the books, and we'll be revealing it in November. Why not now? Have you not actually written it yet? We absolutely have written it. We just think it would sound better in November. Accompanied by fireworks. And yet, because you haven't reassured the market, your borrowing costs will be much higher the longer you leave it. Yes, we wanted that. Did you think we were trying to play government on easy mode? And as you said that, the pound dropped another 2 points. This is just the beginning. There is so much more to come. Another 3 points down. Taxation is theft. And another 4. If you'll excuse me, I just need to make a phone call. Thank you, Minister. Sell it all! Next up, as NASA smashes a spaceship into a distant asteroid, we ask, what would you like to smash a spaceship into? And which members of the cabinet should be on a distant asteroid?
Yeah, a seamless link between the two there, almost. What would you, if you could smash an asteroid, smash a spacecraft into anything, what would it be? Stop that. What would it be? What would you?
I would say
Jacob Rees-Mogg.
I was thinking that, but that's just so wrong to wish death upon someone, even as someone as cold-hearted as him. I mean, it's just
Matt
Green is so good, guys. By the way, if you don't check out his stuff on YouTube, you really should. He's absolutely fantastic. His stuff is top notch.
We'll just check the chat before we go. So Ben Shaw says, Bailey Barza says, what a lovely, beautiful story about Jackson, the guy.
Yes, it was.
I've forgotten his name now.
Yes, Jackson.
Wonderful story, says Conservator. Ben Shaw says, yeah, man, I want to go to Jackson. He sounds great. Even more top marks who's from Barnsley because they're hard-working generally. I have family from there.
Oh, lovely.
Conservator says, go Ben Shaw, you'll have to drop the H. Yep, and anything at value at times. He kind of says you just can't do someone a favour without being punished. Well, yeah, but that, I mean, there's doing someone a favour and then there's picking up the wrong kid from, basically kidnapping the wrong kid from nursery. Yeah. Ah, there you go. Yeah. So
Yeah, just one or two other bets before I just get the plugins and we'll call it a night.
Yeah.
It's that. As Pineapple Boy says, this time it's definitely a terrestrial object and not a slice of sand.
That was brilliant. There was another one which is someone says it's like this picture of Jupiter and it was like a field with sheep in it, but at first glance it kind of looked like the Jupiter, the rings on it. Yeah.
Be good if there was a planet left by the time of extreme hilarity events such as this. Yes, Ben, sure, I agree with that.
Doug says NASA's DART mission was a performance art version of Quasi's budget. That's brilliant. Oh, you know what? Actually, we've got a wee Scott's Dog poem as well, and I did spend a long time doing the subtitles.
Yes, just before we do that, I'm just gonna quickly just say, guys, before we do the poem and then we'll wrap it up because we are a bit over time. Just want to say thanks everybody for coming along. Obviously, we greatly appreciate it. If you guys haven't already, we really appreciate you hitting the like button. Obviously, if you can share the stream, obviously across social media platforms, because obviously we want to get people out there. It's not just about politics, but obviously funny news, good news, and all that kind of jazz that we have as well. And obviously you'll be notified of when we go live when you click the notification icon. And finally, of course, we do have a yes, the bell icon. Yes, you're right. Just quickly as well, we also have a Discord server. So if you guys haven't already joined, it's completely free. Where we have a little chat after the show as well, and we also do lots of other things, maybe games nights, and perhaps we'll maybe even do a movies nights and a couple of other things as well. And we also get a lot of our stories and content as well from there as well. The links for the Discord server is in the description on the channel, on the YouTube channel, if you guys are looking for that as well. So Lee, shall we listen to a beautiful poem from a wee Scots dog?
We'll end the show on this. So thanks for watching. Like I say, thanks for all the comments and the from everybody saying great show. And we'll be here next
thanks
time.
Everyone
next
for
week.
watching. But just before you go, obviously we're gonna end it with Doug's poem. So don't run away just yet.
Yeah.
But me and Lee, we're gonna say thank you guys very much and have a great night.
And we'll see you in the Discord server afterwards.
Yes, the After Dark server.
Yeah.
See you there.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Take it away, Dougie.
Hello. So we Scott's dog here. This one is about a very special friend, Jacob Rees-Mogg, the wonderful new business,
not playing.
Energy, and industrial strategy minister.
He's moving, but he's not talking.
It's all about fracking.
Oh no, this isn't.
It's called Fracking Hell.
Doug's been silenced.
Or counter-fracking.
Let me see if we can sort out the audio.
Rees-Mogg's Tory action
1 second.
is starting to get a
Someone's
reaction.
forgotten to take in the
Party divided.
Doug's mouth.
Some Tories decided, down with Rees-Mogg and his fracking practice.
This is no good.
But Rees-Mogg's such a businessman he
Might have to say.
dates right back
I think
to
we'll save
1863.
we'll save it for next week.
Okay, guys, we are going to save.
Come out at night.
Yeah, we're
just
going to
to
save
shake
it
things
for
up
next
as an
week.
MP.
Yeah, that we might even open with it, maybe just for lols. We'll see. We'll get that up next week for you guys. But thank you guys very much for watching. Bit over the time, but it's all right. I greatly appreciate it, and we'll see you all next week.
See ya. Bye, Cash Dummy.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Hang on. Not quite ready. You ready? Right, bye. Bye. Seamless.
How we say bye?